Welcome back to Titanium Hanger. Happy Friday. Hope everybody's doing well today. Today I want to talk to you about the old practice of fans toys holding back stock. And I don't exactly think they're going to do it again. I don't think it's something they're going to do again. But I was thinking about this in regards to some of the practices I see retailers do. And Show Z does it sometimes. I see TF Source do it. I don't really pay attention to too many others, but I know this is something that goes on. And it generally ends up being different than holding back stock. But I actually asked Show Z straight up about what happens in these situations, and they gave me a solid answer. But I'm also going to discuss the end of collectors selling. I mean, we're going to see all the collectors stop selling in 2025. I'm just putting that out there. I can already predict that. And for me, I collect such a wide variety of things that I'll never find locally that I have to get it online, and it's going to be a big problem for me. So I'm getting as much as I can right now before we go into this new era of buying and selling online, and I'll discuss this a little bit more because it needs to be discussed pretty quick, and we'll talk about the other practice we're seeing from these large distributors. So that's really all we're going to have left, are institutional sellers. Talk about this and more coming up. So I buy from a lot of places. I get most of my Masterpiece Transformers from Show Z store. I get a lot of stuff on eBay. But I want to point out Wheeljack's Lab, great organization. I don't know a whole lot about them. I think the owner's name is Chris. And I remember at least a decade ago having a conversation about, I was lowballing on some stuff. And he kind of explained his pricing to me, which I thought it was cool. He took his time out of his day to explain pricing and how things go and how he does things. And I bought a lot of stuff from him over the years. But I want to say that people like this are already in place, and they're going to weather what's happening in 2025. Now, I don't want to get too political because I promised on this channel not to get political, but facts are still facts. And I've talked about this for 2 years, and I've got the pushback on, Mike, you've said it for 2 years, and it hasn't happened. So the 2022 tax year, the IRS flat out told them, no, we're not going to be able to comply with that. And what they're not going to be able to comply with is something they call that, what is it, the Rescue America bill, which actually does not one good thing for America. There's not one good thing for Americans in there. 2023, there was a coalition of Fair Reporting Act created or pretty much led by eBay, but basically they failed and eBay's given up on all that. And 2024, now they're expecting to deliver much lower financial results in 2025 because of this. Most people even know this and don't care, but I got to tell you this, you better report it if you get a 1099 in the mail. I mean, I hit the 600 on January 2nd. I sold a few things and I was like, oh, there I am. But the thing about this is that for people like me, I've been getting 1099s since 1997, and at the height of it, I was getting 9 1099s from different places. I consolidated that down to 4. I think I'm at 5 or 6 now, but with that, people that have never had one before might not put it on their taxes. There's 80 million people going to get it. It's estimated 70% won't report it, and then the IRS will just send you a bill in the mail. So if you sold like $5,000 worth of stuff electronically, it's sent to the IRS. If you don't claim it, then they're going to say you owe $1,000 or $1,200, whatever your tax case is, and then they're going to throw penalties and interest on it. Plus, they're going to toss on there some state. So whatever your state, it affects your state. Federal affects state. So all of those are issues. If you do sell online, then you definitely need to claim this if it shows up. Get to a tax expert. I can't give you any tax advice on this other than claim it. That's the only thing I'm legally allowed to say because that's what the IRS says. And with all of this, you're going to see a lot of these small individual sellers, like collectors, they're going to be quitting selling online. I mean, the people that have 6 items on eBay, and it happens to be the one thing that you need, and you buy it from them, they're not going to be there anymore. They're going to vanish. As soon as they get burned, probably around July when the letters start going out, and through October, and people are going to realize there's nothing they can do. They owe, $1,200, $2,000, or something like that. They're going to it wasn't worth my time to sell my stuff to just pay it in taxes. And so those people that aren't thinking about this or aren't planning for this or just don't want to mess with it are just not going to sell online. They're going to trade, or they're going to sell in person in cash. But returning to the barter system, trades are highly inefficient. I mean, you have exactly what I want, but I don't have anything that you want. And at the end of the day, very few of the trades are like, it felt even 50-50. 90% of the trade, someone was like, yeah, I know I took a loss on my item, but I really wanted that other item, and I was okay with it. That's how the trades go. You have to have that kind of mentality and attitude if you're trading. And a lot of people are asking, why are you talking about buying and selling so much? Because that essentially is collecting. So what is the concept of held back stock, and why did Fans Toys do it? Well, Fans Toys has, I guess, 2018. They had the Hoodlum. They had, which Hoodlum was selling for 80. So this is like a double deal here on this picture. Rouge Coot was selling for 80 something at places. A lot of these figures, and for the longest time, Lupus. Nobody wanted Lupus. That thing went to clearance. A lot of figures went to clearance. I'm not sure. I don't remember if Hydra did or not. I know Spindrift did. I got my Spindrift for $40. So it's like a lot of this stuff was going to clearance. And so what they started doing, and I feel like it was around FT10 Phoenix era, which the FT10 came out later than a lot of these other ones. Don't worry about the number. That doesn't exactly mean it was the order that it came out. But when that one came out, it was funny because it sold out. Price started going up on the secondary market. And then, now we've got this extra stock. People are saying it is a second run. Well, the second run of that one, the second run of Coot, the second run of all these, they all had the same date, even though they were allegedly a year later or something along those lines. But I really feel like it was held back stock. So I first started noticing this, not with Quietus, though. Now, Quietus was one in 2018 that sold out really fast. I think it's because people were doing 3 of him, because you'd have his Armada to go along with him. So with this, the Quietus T, which I don't have the picture of that one up here. I should have found that one. But Quietus T was one that was limited. And so a lot of the limiteds would run out, and then they'd be out of stock for a few months. People were paying ridiculous prices on the secondary market, and then somehow distributors put up pre-orders again, as if it's going to be another production run. But they showed up really fast after the pre-orders, which got a lot of people curious about this whole held back stock. Now, whether or not Fans Toys did a production run and they did more than 1,000 or whatever, when you say it's a limited run and you're only making that many, then it shouldn't mean that you're making more. It would mean that you're trying to control the market, control your price, and you're not releasing everything that you produced. Or they were lying about the Quietus T and they produced more than 1,000. So, I mean, either way, it's a shady business practice that was going on by Fans Toys, and I think they've stopped it now. So what Fans Toys started doing that was different than holding back stock to manipulate prices, and I have to agree with everybody out there that said it doesn't make sense to warehouse extra stock for that amount of time. It doesn't make sense. Nothing about that whole theory made any sense, and I agree. From a business standpoint, you want to get your production run, sell out of your product, move to the next one, and then if you do a reissue down the road, you do a reissue. Well, they fixed that problem with now they want a piece of that sweet secondary market price. The secondary market pricing is, since their product's going through the roof, they want some of that, so they just started charging more. Now, people are arguing back and forth whether it was just the retailers charging more or if it was Fans Toys that was charging more, but I kind of believe it was a bit of the both. You know, both Fans Toys charged more for their product than they did 8 years earlier when they put it out, and then the reissues came out more expensive, which theoretically the reissues should be the same exact price or maybe even a little cheaper because they don't have to really worry about the tooling. But one thing I want to say about these were not at all held back stock. They were true and blue reissues, and this is when I feel like the whole held back stock stuff stopped, was because these had modified changes. The figures were different because I had the first run, but I wanted to get purple chest because I like it better than the $100 more gray chest version. And when I did that, I noticed that they were different when I was transforming them. They had just slight differences. Really wasn't a big deal, but the fact that they had molding differences let me know that these were newly manufactured figures. Plus, they had a new date on the box. So, I mean, all the telltale signs, they're not holding back stock anymore. But yeah, this should have been $300 per set of 3, not $550. All right, so I'm going to address this situation, and it's Jabber's brought up by everybody. It seems like needs a Jabber. I've got mine, but I wouldn't mind having a second one for bot mode. But I am going to get the unique toys when it comes out. Still, this is one of those things where a figure comes out, and I think TF Source, which I'm not bashing TF Source at all. They are my backup. They came out for $150, but how come it shows the last one they sold was $259? Now TF Source has given me replies that sometimes it's in the vintage category. This is not in the vintage category, but sometimes it's in a meaning that they brought one in from somebody and then resold it, is what they're saying that they did. And so with that, okay, I hear you. I asked ShowZ, well, when ShowZ has their product and like it sells out and then they get in more, but it's a higher price. Now I asked them about that and they told me that they source it locally. So that was the answer. When they source it locally, they're not getting it directly from Fans Toys because Fans Toys is already out of them. They don't offer anymore. Someone else buys 20, 50, 100, sits on them, makes $20 figure, passing them off to ShowZ. And that's, I'm filling in some of the gaps of what they've told me. But sourcing locally costs them more, meaning that someone else there. And that makes sense. I mean, to me, that makes a whole lot of sense that somebody does that. I mean, because people do that here. People order 10 or 7 or 12 and sit on them and double their money or try to. And so with all of that going on, you kind of think, well, what if, say, TF Source would do that? Maybe set aside 20, pull them out 2 years later. Well, when it comes to business like that, they want to make their money back as fast as they can. But if what I've noticed TF Source do is if it's a hot seller, they raise their price when they get to certain levels. So they get 400 in, and then it sells down to, so 100 of them sell really fast, or 300 of them sell really fast. They're down to 100. They might up at 10 or 20 bucks. But if they get down to like 20 really fast, they might up at 30 or 40 bucks, or even up to 100 bucks. But hey, this jabber here was not under their vintage classification, and I think it had that nice little price hike as it started selling out. So I'm curious how other people see this, what I see. Do you see products going up in price as they're starting to get close to selling out? What do you guys think about this in the comments below? And like and subscribe. Peggy Hanger out.